Welcome to another deep dive. Okay, so are you ready to dive in? Because today we're tackling the life of Sean Diddy Combs.
Oh, yeah.
And we're not just talking music, though
Yeah.
there's plenty of that.
Yeah.
It's a deep dive into the allegations
Yeah.
that have everyone buzzing.
Definitely.
Diddy's recent arrest for racketeering,
It's crazy.
and whispers of a criminal enterprise have definitely shaken things up.
It is fascinating how this case makes us question the image he's so carefully cultivated over the years. I mean, from rapper to producer to fashion icon to business mogul, like he's a master of reinvention.
Right.
But can he reinvent himself out of this?
Right. And then there's the whole Diddy list frenzy that exploded online after his arrest. People were convinced it held the names of every celebrity connected to his alleged activities. Beyonce, Jay-Z, even Vice President Harris. It felt like something out of a movie, honestly.
Yeah, the list itself was debunked as fake, which is important to remember. But the fact that it went viral so quickly with people so ready to believe it speaks volumes about how we view celebrity and the allure of scandal.
It's like we almost want to believe the wildest rumors.
Yes.
But before we get lost in internet speculation, let's rewind to a time when Diddy's biggest scandal involved a certain green Versace dress.
Oh, yes.
It was the late 90s. JLo was at the top of her game, and their romance was splashed all over the tabloids. Remember that iconic moment at the 2000 Grammys?
How could anyone forget that dress practically broke the internet before breaking the internet was even a thing?
Right.
But behind that glamorous facade, things weren't always so picture perfect.
Okay.
JLo has been very candid about her initial reservations, but Diddy describing him as very different from her family-oriented upbringing.
Which makes sense, given the rumors about his lifestyle back then.
Right.
But even with those reservations, there was clearly an undeniable spark between them.
Oh, yeah.
What was it about Diddy that initially drew JLo in despite her concerns?
Well, it's easy to speculate about their connection, the allure of two powerful personalities at the top of their game. But if we look at JLo's own words, she was drawn to his ambition, his drive, the way he commanded a room. In many ways, he was everything her world wasn't.
It sounds intoxicating, doesn't it?
It does.
But we know it couldn't last. Their relationship was constantly being tested. His late nights, the constant parties, whispers of infidelity.
Yeah.
Did the pressures of their fame ultimately contribute to their downfall?
I think fame always amplifies existing issues. And in this case, infidelity proved to be a major factor in their 2001 split. JLo has spoken openly about how deeply she was hurt by his disloyalty, describing it as a defining experience in her understanding of relationships.
And that pain resonates even years later. It makes you wonder if part of her reluctance to fully embrace a reunion stems from those old wounds, those lingering doubts.
It's certainly possible. Trauma like that, especially played out on such a public stage, leaves its mark. And it makes you wonder what role, if any, the events surrounding the infamous Club New York shooting played in their eventual breakup.
Exactly. Speaking of lingering doubts and public trauma, that night at Club New York in December of 1999 definitely fits the bill. It's almost hard to believe that something as simple as a spilled drink
I know, right?
could escalate into a scene straight out of a movie.
Right. The details of that night are still shrouded in some mystery. But what we do know is that Diddy and JLo were at the club for a party for the rapper Shine, who was signed to Diddy's label at the time. It should have been a celebration, but the atmosphere quickly turned chaotic.
And terrifying. I can only imagine shots rang out, people were scrambling for cover, and Diddy and JLo ended up fleeing the scene in a frantic escape. And then, to make matters worse, a stolen gun was found in their vehicle.
Yeah, the question of who that gun belonged to and what exactly transpired that night has been the subject of much speculation over the years. But one thing is certain, the incident shook both Diddy and JLo to their core.
Especially JLo, who spent 14 hours in police custody after that incident. There are even accounts of a police officer describing her as looking plain and completely distraught, a far cry from her usually glamorous persona that had to have taken a toll.
Absolutely. And while charges against both of them were eventually dropped, the experience undoubtedly left its mark. It's a stark reminder that no matter how famous or wealthy you are, you're not immune to the very real dangers and anxieties that come with situations like that.
And it makes you wonder, did that shared trauma, that brush with serious legal trouble, ultimately bring them closer together or drive a wedge between them? It's hard to say for sure, but it's interesting to consider the psychological impact of that night on their relationship.
It's definitely a significant piece of the puzzle when we're trying to understand the dynamics at play between them.
Yeah.
But speaking of complex dynamics, let's shift gears for a moment and talk about those legendary Diddy White parties.
Ah, yes, the stuff of legend. From 1998 to 2009, these parties were the hottest ticket in town, with everyone from A-list celebrities to socialites vying for an invitation.
They were extravagant affairs, known for their all-white dress code, luxurious locations, and a guest list that read like a who's who of Hollywood and beyond.
And Diddy himself claimed there was a deeper meaning behind the dress code, saying it was about stripping away pretense and making everyone feel equal. He positioned the parties as a way to break down social barriers. But given the recent allegations against him, it's hard not to view those gatherings through a more critical lens.
You're right. It's interesting how our perception of events can change so drastically when viewed through the prism of new information. The same event that was once seen as glamorous and exclusive can take on a different, more sinister feel when we question the motives and actions of those involved.
It reminds me of that supposed guest list from Diddy's white parties that went viral after his recent arrest. People were shocked to see names like Beyoncé, Jay-Z, Kanye West, even Vice President Kamala Harris on there.
Of course, that list turned out to be completely fabricated, a product of the internet rumor mill. But it's a good reminder that we shouldn't believe everything we see online, especially when it comes to sensationalized stories about celebrities.
It's a good point, though. Those viral photos of Diddy and JLo together at one of his white parties certainly had everyone reminiscing about their past romance. It seems for a moment there that maybe old flames were being rekindled.
Though I think JLo's mother might have something to say about that.
Hmm.
Remember her very public advice for her daughter to steer clear of any potential reunion with Diddy. It makes you wonder what she knows that we don't.
Right. There's always more to the story than meets the eye. And speaking of figures who have recently come under scrutiny, this whole Diddy saga and the world of celebrity parties reminds me of Ellen DeGeneres.
An interesting connection. Ellen and Diddy have been friends for years, with him appearing on her show numerous times. Their interactions were always playful, but now some of their past exchanges feel a bit uncomfortable in light of the current allegations against Diddy.
Especially that tweet from Ellen back in 2016 where she refers to Diddy as Cuddle MC Snuggle Stuffs. What might have been a harmless nickname at the time now feels incredibly awkward and ill-timed. It does make you wonder about the timing of it all, doesn't it? And how something that might have seemed perfectly innocent at the time can take on a completely different meaning when viewed through a new lens.
Absolutely.
Mm.
It's a reminder that context is everything, especially when it comes to public perception. And speaking of uncomfortable situations, remember those clips of Diddy on Ellen's show, joking about being perpetually late to her parties?
Oh, yeah.
They've resurfaced online, and people are reading into them wondering what really went on at these gatherings.
It's like everyone is playing armchair detective, trying to connect the dots and unearth a deeper, darker narrative.
Which is understandable given the nature of the allegations against Diddy. But it's crucial to remember that there's no evidence to suggest that Ellen was involved in any wrongdoing.
Right. It's all speculation at this point. But it does highlight how easily reputations can be tarnished by association, especially in today's hyper-connected world. One minute you're the queen of daytime TV, and the next you're facing intense scrutiny just for being in the same orbit as someone like Diddy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a cautionary tale about the fickle nature of fame and the importance of surrounding yourself with people who uphold your values. But even more unsettling is the way Diddy's case seems to be drawing parallels to another high-profile scandal, Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, wow, yeah. It's like that old saying, lay down with dogs, wake up with fleas.
Right.
And unfortunately for Diddy, the comparison to Epstein is a particularly nasty flea to have on your reputation.
The comparisons are certainly there, even if they're uncomfortable to acknowledge. Both men are accused of using their wealth and power to exploit others, allegedly hosting lavish parties that were more than just social gatherings. And the allegations of misconduct at Diddy's events, while not on the same scale as Epstein's crimes, are still incredibly disturbing.
It's like a dark cloud hanging over everything Diddy has built. And you have to wonder, even if he's found innocent of the racketeering charges, can his image ever truly recover from this?
It's a long road ahead for Diddy, both legally and reputationally. He's facing serious consequences, and the details that have emerged during the investigation are far from flattering.
It's hard to reconcile the image of the charismatic, larger-than-life Diddy we once knew with the allegations of manipulation, intimidation, and exploitation that are now coming to light.
And that's the thing about deep dives like this. They force us to confront the complexities of human nature, the gray areas where ambition and power can easily slip into something darker.
So as we reach the end of our deep dive, I'm left with a lingering question. In a world obsessed with celebrity and quick to judge, how do we reconcile the public image of someone like Diddy with the allegations he now faces? Where do we draw the line between speculation and accountability?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's one that each of us has to answer for ourselves. We can't ignore the accusations, but we also can't rush to judgment without all the facts. It's a delicate balance, one that's crucial to navigate, especially in today's world, where information and misinformation spreads like wildfire.
Well, that is a lot to unpack for sure, but one thing's for certain, this deep dive has given us all plenty to think about. Until next time.